Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Good Saturday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I hope that everyone is feeling well and ready to jump in. Welcome to Dare to Soar, where we just do not simply discuss issues, we elevate voices, amplify truth, and ignite change. I am your host, Dr. RC, and today's conversation is not just important, it is imperative. There are moments in history when leadership must rise with clarity, courage, and conversation. And today we welcome a leader who embodies all three. Joining us today is Dr. Carmen Reese Foster, MSW Program Director and Assistant Professor in the School of Social Work at Belmont University and founder and Executive Director at of the Coalition of Black Social Workers, a national nonprofit committed to engaging, connecting, and empowering Black social work students and professionals. Her leadership spans both academia and practice. She previously served as an interim online MSS program director, assistant professor of practice, and director of alumni affairs at the University of Tennessee College of Social Work. But that's not all, guys. Before entering higher education, her work centered on supporting youth and families from marginalized communities within school and community settings, grounding her leadership on trauma, mental health, community well-being, and resilience. She was recognized as the 2023 NSSW Tennessee Social Worker of the Year. She holds degrees from the University of North Carolina, University of Maryland School of Social Work, and the University of Alabama School of Social Work. Dr. Reese Foster, welcome to Dare to Soar. Now, our topic for discussion for this one is unapologetically Black, uncompromisingly social work, unstoppably committed. Woo, that's hot, hot, hot. Do you see her bouncing in her seat? Because she is ready to get to it, and I am ready for her to dive into what we have for you. She's excited. I'm excited. So, Dr. Reese Foster, once again, welcome to Dare to Soar. So, hey, I don't want to hold you back because I'm ready, you're ready. We have lots to offer those who are tuned in and who will also, I am sure, listen to the playback of what we're going to be talking about today. So, with that being said, let me welcome you again. So, welcome, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. RC. And thank you so much just for creating this platform for voices to be amplified that are important to the social work community and the Black community. And I feel so honored to be here at the end of Social Work Month. So happy
Yes.
Social Work Month to all the social workers who are listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you as well. My pleasure. My pleasure. So, Dr. Reese Foster, as an executive director, what is your vision for the Coalition of Black Social Workers over the next 5 years?
Yeah, we have been so blessed. We started as a 501c3 in 2020. So we're really just entering into that second 5 year stage. And so I would say we have focused on creating our identity for the first 5 years, really making sure that the Black community knows that we're here to support them, that Black social workers know that they have some place to go to support. But the next 5 years is all about growth and expansion and deepening our leadership. One of the values that we're committed to is professional development. We want to grow leaders in the Black social work community. So from student leaders to professional leaders, we really have a desire for people to go deep, for us to meet gaps where there are. We have campus chapters, we give scholarship money, we help people who are trying to get licensed with a pre-licensure scholarship fund. We create mentoring opportunities for professionals and students, and also from professionals to professionals. The next 5 years is really about going deeper. What can we do to create more substantive opportunities for Black social workers to really shine and to really walk in their purpose and their destiny?
Oh, I love that. I love that. Those points that you brought up, especially when you talk about walking in your purpose and your destiny. And we're going to dive deep into so many things when you talk about purpose and destiny, and when you especially talk about shining,
Yeah.
because I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because I know I'm weak. And there it is. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. That commercial break is coming. And before I dive into that next piece, I don't want you to get into it because I know it's going to be deep. Guys, it is time for a commercial break. I promise you, Dr. Reese Foster is going to give so much more. So go get that tea, go get that coffee, and grab your friends. Grab your friends for this conversation because I promise you, she's gonna be, I like to say about dropping those nuggets. She's gonna be dropping some nuggets, some golden and platinum nuggets. I promise you. So we will be right back after this commercial break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back. Yes, I am here with Dr. Carmen Reese Foster. Oh my gosh. Now, you guys know, we just got into the first question and she was just dropping things. But guess what? It's more to come. Unapologetically Black, uncompromisingly social work, unstoppably committed. That is our subject matter. And what a great subject matter that we are speaking with as we get ready to prepare to close out National Social Work Month. So I want to dive back in because I have so many more questions for her. So, Dr. Carmen Reese, in your perspective, what is the greatest threat currently facing Black social workers today?
Dr. RC, I think the greatest threat facing Black social workers is the greatest threat that has always faced the Black community, and that's white supremacy, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes when people hear that word, white supremacy, they think about a person and they get this image of a hateful person in their mind. But it's important for people to realize that white supremacy is not just a person, it is an ideology, right? It is a
Mhm.
pervasive ideology that wants to keep whiteness in power in our economic systems, in our political systems, in our educational systems. And you don't have to be white to perpetuate white supremacy.
Yes.
So I feel like that is the That is the ideology that has always been the greatest threat. And even in the face of that ideology, Black people have always been able to soar and to rise above that. I'm sure that people saw this week that the UN passed a resolution that declared slavery was the greatest crime against humanity. And you will notice that the United States voted no against that resolution, right? Because those are the effects of white supremacy and wanting
Yes.
to maintain that power and control.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So, even more so when we talk about things like this, that's why when we speak about our profession and, coming together as a unit, as we talk about this, advocacy,
Yeah.
voting
Yes.
becomes so, so important, which is such a great segue into my next question. What does courageous, and I have to say this again, what does courageous leadership look like in this season,
Mhm.
especially,
Mhm.
especially in times like these?
Great question. I think it's first so important, especially for the viewers and the listeners and people who will watch this on the playback, to understand that leadership doesn't just mean that you run something, right? As an executive director, every single person that I work with, every volunteer in the Coalition of Black Social Workers is a leader, has that responsibility of leadership. And so I would say, courageous leadership looks like all of those things that you mentioned. Yes, it is voting. Yes, it is telling people and advocating for people's right to vote. Yes, it is dismantling the systemic oppression that is all around us, but it's also supporting local Black owned businesses. It's also
Yes.
using our money, our time, and our energy to reinvest in our community. Not only do we live in a white supremacist society, but we also live in a capitalistic society. So money
Yes.
does talk. So, how are we taking what little we have and really being courageous in supporting Black owned businesses, Black owned restaurants? The dollar in America is powerful. So, that's just one very simple way that we can exercise courage, but it also goes deeper than that. Where are we sending our children to school? That's a mark of courageous leadership. Where are we choosing to worship in our faith communities? That is a mark in courageous leadership. So it takes all kinds of leaders, and you don't have to necessarily have a title to be able to make a difference and to make an impact. But being courageous in this climate means not being afraid to stand 10 toes down on what it is that you believe and how you're going to advance communities of oppression, and that includes Black people. And I think especially for social workers,
Yes.
we like to help people and serve. And even in our code of ethics, our mission, it says that we are to enhance the human well-being of all people, but it also says with particular attention to those who are vulnerable, oppressed,
Yes.
and living in poverty. So as social workers, courageous leadership means like advocating for those people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in
Yes.
poverty,
Yes.
because that's what we're called to.
Yes, yes. And thank you for bringing that clarity, because oftentimes in doing this work, because we're so busy going, 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 we ourselves forget to reflect on or bring ourselves back to our foundation. And then,
Mhm.
with that left side or that right side, we're so focused on the everyday movement of
Right.
going through everything. We let the outside noises or the outside voices bring into what we know to be true, and
Mhm.
staying focused to our values or in tune to our values, and allowing that to come into play to what we know what best practices are. And we
Right.
have to
Right.
stop doing that, because
Right.
that is what causes confusion. That is how you get
Mhm.
into not the good trouble, but the
Right.
bad
The
trouble
bad
that
trouble.
conflict, you know. Woo!
That's
See,
right. That's
you know,
right.
we're about to start a sermon right here. And we're not necessarily serving now. We're not going to start serving. You're going back to church. But really, you know, we can laugh and talk about it, but that's why
Mhm.
it's so critical. And we have to
Absolutely.
bring back to our students in that foundational pieces when we're telling them and teaching them in schools
Mhm.
what that truly means. Because when they get on the outside of this,
That's
especially
right.
those who are entering this field early on, they
Right.
can get caught up in a lot of different things, not
Mhm.
knowing by listening to those outside voices, that outside
Mhm.
noise, if they don't have good direction.
Right.
And Dr.
Absolutely.
RC and Dr. Carmen, we're not saying that everybody does this. So please don't take this our show on March 28th to say that this is what happened. No, that's not what we're saying. Neither one of
Right.
us have said that, but we're speaking truth to power and telling you the truth. And
Right.
what a way to go to commercial, because I'm getting the sign. It's time to go to commercial. But I promise you, she has more to share. But these are things that's coming to light, and it is
That's
real.
right.
We'll be
That's
right
right.
back after commercial.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again. I am here with Dr. Carmen Reese Foster. And who is she? I know that you're wondering, but let me remind you, because I did share who she was. She is the executive director of the Coalition of Black Social Workers. What are we talking about? Unapologetically Black, uncompromisingly social work, and unstoppably committed. I want to dive back into these questions because, you know, we're getting caught up, but I want to stay focused. I promise, guys, I'm going to try to stay focused. But we're having such a wonderful time because all these platinum nuggets she's dropping. So, in a profession that often asks people to uncompromise, what does it truly mean to practice uncompromising social work?
Oh, wow.
I know that's
That's
a
a
loaded question.
that's $1 million question. I would say, for me and how I feel like I practice as a social work, how I feel like I practice as a social work leader, how I feel like I share with my students is it always goes back to the code of ethics. The code of ethics is
Mhm.
clear for social workers, right? We
Yes.
just talked about this emphasis on populations that have been vulnerable, that are vulnerable, oppressed, or living in poverty. But we also have these 6 values that really guide the work that we're supposed to do. So if you have service, which is one of our values, but you don't have social justice, then you're
Mhm.
not operating in a way that is uncompromising, right? You're compromising one value and you're picking and you're choosing. Well, the beautiful thing about social work and our code of ethics is you don't get to pick and choose, right? It's all or it's nothing. So if you are going to pride yourself on on service and on respecting the inherent dignity and worth of a person, then you also have to pride yourself on social justice and fighting not just those individual acts of hatred, but also that systematic oppression that has oftentimes kept marginalized communities down. And so, social workers cannot pick and choose. It is not a menu. This is not a restaurant. You don't get to take some and leave the other. It is all of it, right? We care about all people. We have a responsibility to marginalized communities, to those who are oppressed, and that is the work and the magic of social work.
Woo, 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 woo. Okay, that's a hand clap. That's a hand clap. And I say that because just as we were saying that,
Yeah.
and we're on the break where we're talking about our younger um, social workers, our students, they're entering the field and they're running before they even get started.
Right,
And oftentimes, just to your point, that you don't get to pick and choose. It's not like Burger King. You can't have it your way. It's
right,
all, it's
right.
all. And we can't emphasize that enough.
Mhm.
You don't get to say, well, I'm going to work with this person, but don't want to work with this person. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Our code of ethics is clear. That is the standard in which we have to follow. And that's important to realize that. And you have to understand that. And if you can't follow those basically procedural guidelines, that is what we have to follow, then this is not the profession for you. So I'm just
Right.
going to let that lay right there as we move
Absolutely.
forward. We often talk about systematic inequities, but what specific systems within social work are still, you already know, still require disruption?
Every single one of them. I mean, I love social work. And if I did not love this profession, then I would not challenge this profession, right? When you
Mhm.
love something, you act on it in a way where you try to make it better. And, in 2021, after the 2020 murder of George Floyd, COVID-19 pandemic, the NASW released a statement in 2021 really apologizing for ways that the profession had perpetuated racism from its origins, how it had
Yeah.
perpetuated racism. And so I think that is a really good start. I think having an apology, I think having statements are a really good start. But if we are not actively working to decolonize these systems that we say are meant to help people, then we're just continuing to perpetuate negative cycles, oppressive cycles, and white supremacy. And so I would say every single one of them, from the child welfare system to the educational system to our economic system, we have not done a good job
Mhm.
really advocating for transformation. We've done a great job listing out what the issues are. We've done a great job saying that reform needs to happen, but we have not done a good enough job collectively trying to transform those systems.
Mhm. I would definitely agree. Oftentimes, when you see social work organizations, my vision, my dream would be that all of them on the national level could come together to the table and really have a serious, and I do mean serious
Yeah.
discussion, um, because there are things that need to be discussed
Mhm.
that individual organizations are running away from, because it's like, oh well, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that. But
Right.
you can't run from it, because the moment you place yourself, I am a social work organization,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
out there. It is
Right.
there. You
Right.
cannot run from that, especially if you are truly holding social work values
Mhm.
and that title there, and you're
Right.
stating that you're following social work guidelines. You can't
Mhm.
run from that.
You're
You
right.
can't. You
You're right.
can't cherry pick and choose from that. That's my little caveat. But, you know, I keep fighting that good fight, and I'm going to do it until, the breath leaves this body. So, I'm right there and will continue to do that work. I want to go into this next question, but I feel like a commercial break is gonna come up. But I am going to put it out here, and if it does, then I'll hold for it. You know, we
Okay.
often talk about systematic inequities, but what specific systems within social work still? Oh, let me revert back. How do we move beyond statements of
Mm,
solidarity? Mm. And you know, I'm reflecting on this because of something that's going on in Georgia right now. How do
mm,
we move beyond statements of solidarity into sustained structural change?
mhm.
That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like statements are a cop out, and I think that just honestly, statements are performative. Again, if we go back to a time in our country that we all remember in 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, everybody had a statement. I was getting a statement in my email from Best Buy. I got a statement from, the ice cream shop. I mean, everybody was having this statement, and very few people were actually grounding those words with action.
Hmm.
Right? Everything we do, people will judge us by our actions, right?
Hmm.
So what you say, if it doesn't match up with what you do, then that actually has the potential to cause more harm to those individuals and to that community. And so, statements are easy. That's easy work. My kids, my teenagers would say that's light work. Right? Like anybody can write a statement, but what are you actually doing to implement that statement? And I think that people are smarter than we give them credit for, and
Hmm.
realize that if you just write a statement but there's no change, there's no action, there's no commitment to change, then people don't believe you, and it's performative, and it does more harm, it causes more trauma. And so we have to show that actions speak louder than words. That's what we tell our children when we're
Hmm.
raising children. We say, hey, I know you said you were sorry, but I need to see changed behavior, because your actions speak louder than your words. And so that's the same thing we need to be saying to these universities and these corporations when they put out these large blanket statements. How are you treating the people that you're writing the statement about? What do your actions look like? How have you changed policy within your agency to really push forward these things in the statement that you have stated? So a statement without a policy change is no good in my book. It's just performative.
Yes, yes. And what a way to go to a commercial break, guys. It is time for a commercial break.
Bye.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense Radio Show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Oh my gosh, guys. Yes, we have returned. This is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. I know that you're getting so much out of this conversation. The platinum nuggets are being dropped. Take those notes. You know, I like to tell you, take those notes. Take those notes. This information is well worth it. You're going to be able to go back, get it for later. Dr. Carmen Reese Foster, Executive Director of the Coalition of Black Social Workers. Unapologetically Black, uncompromisingly social work, unstoppably committed. That is our topic of discussion. I want to try to get to the rest of these questions that I have for her. So as we continue on, why is representation and executive leadership so critical within our profession right now? I feel like that's a hot question, and I know it is, especially what's going on in our climate across the nation. No, across the globe. Let me say that.
Across the
Ah,
globe, for sure.
yes.
I would say that executive leadership historically has been important for representation because you cannot be what you cannot see, right? So, just at a basic level, representation is important. People need to see a Dr. RC leading this fabulous podcast because they can say, oh, if she can do it, I can do it, right? So, at the very basic level, you cannot be what you cannot see. But particularly and this time, it is so critical because we need those leaders to be in those spaces, but we also need those leaders to represent our voices in those
Mhm.
spaces. Just because you have a leader who has a seat at the table does not mean that they are transforming that table. And so I think this moment in history really calls us not to just chase positions and
Yes.
chase titles and chase these seats at tables. Because if you get there and you're just going to conform and assimilate to the white supremacy that's leading the table, then it doesn't matter to me if you're there or not, right?
Right.
I need
Right.
you to get there and I need you to use your platform to
Mhm.
amplify voices and to call attention to these communities that are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. That's the type of action oriented executive leadership that we need in
Yes.
social work right now. We don't need another token. We don't need another
Mhm.
person who just has the title and doesn't do the work. We need people who are willing to get their hands dirty and to get into good trouble, like you mentioned earlier, and to really
Yes.
do the work for the community.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And with that being said, oftentimes, social workers don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. And we hear that all the time.
Mhm.
They sit in rooms and it's almost like trying to be a squeaky wheel, but they
Mhm.
fear being that squeaky wheel. So, what message do you have for Black social workers who feel unseen, who feel unheard, who feel just simply undervalued in their workplaces?
Wow, that's a big one because I did a research study a few years ago post COVID, and that was one of the outcomes that social workers, Black social workers in particular, did not feel as though the world saw them as essential during the pandemic. So that is a real thing that we carry. I think social workers across the board, where we're constantly having to fight to prove that we belong in these interprofessional spaces. Um, And what I would say is that, particularly for Black social workers, is that you have been positioned where you are for a reason and for a purpose. And you belong in all
Mhm.
of those spaces. As social workers, we are highly educated individuals, right?
Mhm.
Most of us have not just a bachelor's degree, but we also have an MSW, which still is the terminal degree in our field.
Yes.
Most people have a license. Some of us have doctorates. We absolutely have the training and the education to be wherever it is that we have been assigned to and positioned for that time. And so I would
Yes.
say to every single social worker, number one, most people don't understand our profession, right? There's still a lot of stigma around what it means to be a social worker and how people view us. But we are highly educated, expertly trained individuals. And so walk with your head held high,
Mhm.
lean into the training that has gotten you this far, and know always that you have this code of ethics that really does help guide and shape and direct your practice.
Yes.
So, particularly when you're in interprofessional spaces, if you're a school social worker, sometimes the teachers don't understand what your code of ethics is. If you're a medical social worker, sometimes the doctors and nurses don't understand that you're operating out of a code of ethics. If you're in the law system, all of these things. But hold your head up high. You have the training, you have the expertise. You can absolutely do it because you are purposed to do that.
Yes. What a great confidence builder. And it is time for another commercial. So that is a fantastic way to go to commercial. Reflection, reflection, reflection until we return after commercial. We'll be right back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back. Yes, you're returning to Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. Oh my gosh, this has been such a wonderful, wonderful time spending with Dr. Carmen Reese. So, Foster, Carmen Reese Foster. I want to give everybody their full name. I do believe in giving that respect. So I'm going to jump right back into our questions that I have for her. So as we return, how can social workers across racial and cultural backgrounds show up as authentic allies in this work? And that is key and that's important because we know that it takes all of us doing this work together.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head that things work better in community and when we are in solidarity with one another. And there have been so many movements throughout the course of history that have shown that we are better when we unite and work together. And so I think again, that study that I referenced a few years ago that I did, one of the things that was really hurtful to Black social workers was that their white social work colleagues didn't show up for them, right? And they weren't supportive for them. They were not strong allies for them. And I think that that's really important. It's important to know that, just because your lived experience is not the same as my lived experience, you can
Mhm.
still show empathy and you can still be compassionate and you can still practice solidarity and allyship because you recognize the gravity of what is happening. And so allyship is not just a, hey, I'm sorry you're going through this, but allyship is, or what people are saying being an accomplice or being a co-conspirator, being a friend looks like, let me get down there dirty with you.
Right.
Let me walk with you shoulder to shoulder. Let me step back so that you can move forward. Let me help you shine,
Mhm.
because I realize the impact that this is having on you and your community. So we need to work together. We have to work together.
Yes.
Every movement in history has shown us that we are better together.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, just to take this a step farther, what does collective power look like in practice, not just in theory?
Yes, yes, collective power. I would say one of the things that I absolutely love is this idea of the collective, right? In the CBSW, that's what we do. What it looks like is not just a bunch of talking, not just a bunch of statements, but we reach back to people who are younger and we reach forward to people and honor the people who have come before us so that we have this continuous stream of knowledge and support. And we're not just doing it for ourselves. Going back to the statement about being in executive leadership, we're not just getting in executive leadership and we're good, we've made it. We're getting an executive leadership and we're saying, how can I bring somebody else alongside of
Mhm.
me? How can I mentor somebody else so that when in 5 years this room looks different than it does right
Yes.
here today? And so collective power is about all of us coming together. It's the Harriet Tubman mindset of,
Hmm.
I'm not just going to get out myself, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to
Yes.
pull others alongside of me so
Yes.
that they can also get out and reach towards their healing.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. Bringing everyone along the journey away because we know the perspectives are different and combined together, greatness can still be achieved. I love, absolutely love that. Love that. I know that we're probably getting ready to come on a commercial break. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. But I do have this question about leadership and how leadership often comes with both rewards and sacrifice, as we
Mhm,
know. And
mhm,
what has leadership kind of cost you, and what has it given you all at the same time? So I
mhm.
know that that commercial break is coming up. So if we have to start it and then circle back around to it when we return from the commercial break, that's fine.
Yeah, the great question. I feel like as a Black woman, leadership has tried to cost me my health, has
Hmm.
tried to cost me my sanity, has tried to cost me my identity. Right,
Yes.
I have been blessed to have been shaped by a family that really modeled leadership well for me. I have amazing parents who really grounded my leadership and nurtured that. And but what I see in practice as an adult leader, especially in predominantly white spaces,
Hmm.
is you have to maintain your authenticity and you have
Yes.
to be true to yourself, because otherwise it will cost you your well-being. And so
Yes.
because I'm a social worker and because of my training and because I've had so many people pour into me, when I start to see signs, that my well-being is being compromised, when I start seeing or noticing, like, oh, the way it manifests in me is headaches, right? If I start
Mhm.
getting recurring headaches, I know that I'm too stressed. This is too much. I need to pull back. I need to recenter. But I am 10 toes down on this. Leadership is not going to cost me my well-being,
Yes.
right? Black women are dying. Black
Yes.
women are in a state of chronic health issues and mental
Yes.
health issues because that is the cost of being a leader, but it doesn't have to be, right?
Right.
It is the cost, but it doesn't have to be.
Mhm.
So I would say that's a cautionary statement for us not to feel like we have to be the superwoman or the strong one or the
Mhm.
hero, right? It's being a hero to take care of ourselves so that
Yes.
we can outlast the system.
Yes, yes, and yes. I love that. And I can feel you all the way on that as well. Trust me when I tell you that. In roles that I've had. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Oh,
yeah,
oh wow.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I know that the light is gonna come up. So I'm just gonna take liberties to say we will be
Yes.
right back after this commercial break because I know it's coming up to proceed with the wrap up because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know that Zach is going to put that little 1 minute timer up there. So I'm going to jump ahead of it. And we will be
Okay.
right back after this commercial break for our wrap up.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back once again. Yes, it's me, Dr. RC, and this is Dare to Soar. My guest, Dr. Carmen Reese Foster. I have two more questions for her, and then I am going to go into my closeout. The first one being, if you could leave one legacy message for the next generation of Black social workers, what would it be?
Wow, that is a loaded question. How do I make it just one? I think there's so much. I think One legacy message, because we've already talked about the importance of having that Harriet Tubman mindset of not just getting yours, but also how do you give to the community, right? So I think that that's a beautiful legacy message. But I think in this particular climate here in the big 2026, what I would say is that our legacy message needs to be one of rest and one of prioritizing our well-being. We have been forced to work under oppressive conditions since our ancestors and descendants placed foot on this continent, right? And so I think that has created a lot of trauma, that has created a lot of negative health outcomes. And it is time for us to start taking back our power in our bodies. And it's time for us to rest and to prioritize well being. Audre Lorde said so beautifully that caring for herself was not an act of I don't have the exact words, but it was self-preservation, right? It wasn't her being selfish to engage in self-care. It was an act of self-preservation because she knew that the world was not going to give her the permission to rest. And so I would say the legacy message is as Black people, Black social workers who care deeply, who serve, who have hearts for others, this is your permission to rest. This is your reminder to rest and to take care of yourself and to prioritize your well being.
I love that. And my final question for you is for those who feel who called to be a part of this work, how can they become a member of the Coalition of Black Social Workers? And why is that step so important right now?
Yes, absolutely. Our website is full of information. And if you go to thecbsw.org membership, I think it is. If you just go to thecbsw.org, there's a membership tab you can also click on, and you can join in our work. We have members from all over the country, and it's important because we support each other, we uplift each other. It is an opportunity for Black excellence to be personified, exemplified, amplified, and elevated. And so within that, what that looks like is mentoring opportunities. It looks like scholarship opportunities. It looks like pre-licensure support. It looks like attending our conference. We have a conference every year that is the first Thursday and Friday of March, kind of at the back end of Black History Month and the very beginning of Social Work Month. And it is in Nashville, Tennessee, and we get together, and that is a balm to our souls. That is where we have this collective power and this collective healing and collective liberation. So, particularly in this climate, when we are getting messages that reiterate the fact that this system was not created for us nor by us, dehumanizing messages every single day when we turn on the TV or we're looking at an Instagram feed. So we need to come together, not in a spirit of competitiveness, but in a spirit of collaboration. How do we help each other? How do we support each other? How do we prioritize each other and our well being? So please join. We would love that. We would love to connect with you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. My guest, Dr. Carmen Reese Foster, has been an outstanding guest. I know that you have gotten so many great nuggets. Remember, leadership is rooted in identity. It is not divisive. It is powerful. Have a great rest of your weekend. Always remember to never be afraid to spread your wings and elevate to new heights as you never be afraid to dare to soar. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye bye.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.